Welcome to week 12 of Rebuild Mark. I'm Mark Still, and week 12 means it's race week. So this is it. Final prep is getting done. I'm getting ready to put my bags together for the paid support drop bag setup. And I'm going very light this year. I don't know why I put so much stuff in them last year other than I saw other people doing it and thought, well, there must be some reason, but I can't think of a good reason to put all that junk in a bag. So there's going to be basically some drink mix, some sunscreen, and one tire in each bag because I happen to have the tires I just took off the bike and they're still in real good shape. So if I happen to split a tire and can still somehow make it to the checkpoint, then maybe I can use one of those tires to fix things up. I'm going to keep it pretty easy and just focus on moving forward. And I leave in just over a day, heading there Wednesday. So I'll be there Wednesday evening. And as I mentioned last week, I'm in a very cool adventure wagon. I'll be out at the fairgrounds. So if you're out that way, find me and get a Slow Guy on the Fast Ride t-shirt or a hat or both and say hello. Today is going to be fun because what I have for this week's update is a chat with my coach. It's the first time I've ever hired a cycling coach, and I have gotten an awful lot out of it. My coach is Kristen Legan. She's the defending, well, actually she's not defending. She's the current Unbound 2023 XL champion. She's not defending this year. She's part of the Lifetime series, so she'll be racing the 200, but she is the champion from last year in the XL. She's a multi-time podium finisher in the 200. She's a sub 8-hour Leadville mountain bike finisher with plenty of other notable finishes, but relevant to today's discussion, she's also the head coach at Rambler Coaching. She is a cycling coach and she does the Unbound camps and helps coach athletes out there to get ready for Unbound. And she's been my coach and I've gotten a ton out of it. So I asked if she wouldn't mind visiting and talking through that. And that's what we're going to do now. And I hope you enjoy it. Also, if you like gravel cycling, Kristen and her husband, Nick, are also the hosts of the Funbound, because that's fun, Funbound Gravel podcast. So if you like that kind of stuff, I really enjoy that podcast. I would encourage everybody to subscribe and listen to that podcast. I think it's quite good. For now, this is my chat with my coach, Kristen Legan. I hope everybody enjoys it, and I'll see you in a couple days in Kansas. Well, Coach, it's good to see you. We don't usually do the visual part, so it's good to see you.
Yeah, great to be here.
Yeah, and last year we chatted, but we didn't really know each other last year. Mm-hmm. And this year it was very easy as a decision. Once I made what was not an easy decision for me to hire a coach, it was a very easy decision for me to ask you to be my coach. And I very much appreciate you doing that. So thank you.
Yeah, well, it's been really fun to work with you and fun to see the transformations happening. So thanks for working with me. It's been great.
I hope to make you proud.
Yeah.
Well, after we did talk and then we engaged this year as coach and athlete and you got a chance to see a few rides and a few workouts, what did you think when you looked at the data and thought, this is what I have to work with?
Well, I think you're a little hard on yourself with that. But, I think the biggest thing for me is that you come from a really big sporting background. You have a lot of endurance training in your history and racing. So I knew you have the kind of mindset for it. And I think that's the most important thing for these types of races. We can all train, we can do workouts, we can do long rides, but what takes the longest to prepare for these events is that mental toughness or just knowing how to take care of yourself out there. And so for me, even if you hadn't been, maybe you hadn't been riding as much as you hoped you had through the winter, or you were coming in a little bit underdone. Like that was going to be a challenge, of course, of getting just up to the volume that we needed to feel comfortable going into Unbound. But the fact that you had that mental piece already in you that just made it a lot easier to kind of, know we could do this.
So what's the tip if you don't? Because that's true. I mean, it's been a long, my history, you say in my history I had, that's very true, but it's a long time ago.
Right.
But that doesn't go away, I don't think. The dark times come and knowing that they're just going to happen and it's a cycle throughout the day. But what are the tips that you can give somebody that maybe doesn't have that history? Maybe they're just coming into something like this after they've gotten into cycling in the last year or two. What do you tell somebody about those mental aspects of the game?
Yeah, well, we can talk about it. You can listen to podcasts about it. You can hear other people's experiences. But I think that your own experience is the best way to learn. And so I encourage a lot of people, I know Unbound 200 is the big event that everybody wants to do, but come in and do the 100, do the 50, experience these different events. And it doesn't even have to be Unbound. Go and do something local that's close by. Start practicing that, because you're going to find these challenges at any race you do. You're going to have the highs and lows out there. So practice that. Start to understand how you react to it and how you can get yourself through those dark places, so that when you continue to get longer events or different types of events, you have that kind of tool in your toolbox already. But the more that you can, if you're ready just to jump in and do the 200 right away, then I think the more you can prepare just mentally, thinking through what could happen out there and how can you best react to it without going down too dark of a hole.
Yeah, I wish last year I had just signed up for the 100, because I think I
Right.
could have made that. But and the reason was, I remember events like this from whatever 20 years ago where there's very little support.
Mm-hmm.
But it'd been a while, and you get used to these almost concierge level events. Unbound is not that.
Right.
There's not every 25, 30 miles, there's not a lavish rest stop. So I think that's a good idea, and I wished I had, and I said I would, if I did it again, I'd do the 100, and then of course I signed up for the 200 this year because I had that something wrong.
Right.
Well, but how have I been? Because most people that have known me all my cycling career know my love for the fun of cycling and my disdain for anything that makes it seem like structured work. So first of all, they were shocked. I mean, I even asked a friend of mine, what's the craziest thing? If I said I did something, what's the wildest you'd never think of it? He never guessed coach until I told him. But how have I been as an athlete, someone who has a reputation for not necessarily wanting to do what other people tell him to do? How have I been as a coached athlete?
I mean, yeah, actually, you've been way more compliant than I was actually expecting. Our initial talks, you kind of mentioned a lot of this, and I was like, all right, we're going to have to figure out some ways to get around some of the workouts and just keep things really interesting and fun. But honestly, you did a great job. We didn't have to change too much out there. I think cycling should be fun for all of us. And so that's something I build in my coaching to try and keep a good balance of, go out and do an adventure ride, just have fun and ride your bike, versus go and do a bunch of intervals. So I think finding the right balance for each athlete is really important. But I think you've done a great job of embracing the work. I know there were a few days, especially late in spring, where the weather wasn't super great and maybe there was a little bit more indoor riding than any of us want later in the spring. That got a little bit tough, but you got through it. And I think that was great to see. Because again, like that mental aspect of just like, it's not always fun. Sometimes you just have to do the work, but as long as we balance it with fun.
Well, you did a good job of that. You saw when, particularly something like a base ride where it's just steady riding on the trainer, and I just couldn't do it. So next time I'd look, there'd be something different there. It'd be, cadence intervals or something that keeps me occupied. So I think you did a really good job of that. And that reminds me of something else, because I would have thought as well, like you did when you first met me, that I would require more of a heavy hand, although I don't respond well to heavy hands. But you're not a heavy-handed person. What I would notice is, particularly after we did that FTP test, I'm looking at the workouts, and I have a habit of looking ahead in the workouts. And then I go back and look ahead, and I'm like, wait a minute, that looks harder than it did before. So that seemed like how you would manipulate that situation, is you'd sneak in there and make it harder when it needed to be harder, rather than dropping the hammer on me verbally.
Right.
Were you really doing that? It looked like some of those workouts would change.
Yeah, I mean, that's the point of, checking in each week, is just kind of seeing how you're feeling. And when we would talk and you'd say, hey, I'm recovering well, I feel good. That's a good sign for me if we're in that point of the season to load it up a little bit more going into the next week. And so trying to make those minor changes. It doesn't have to be these huge things where you're just like going from easy to really hard. We're doing work. We're just notching it up a little bit, and you almost don't notice it physically when you're out there. And so, trying to sneak in that. And sometimes we have to go out and do that and accomplish it to really kind of believe that we can. And then that just makes the next workout that much easier, because we're like, oh, I've already done that. I know I can go to that level. And so finding those points where we can, surprise ourselves is important.
Yeah, you mentioned that earlier. And I thought, well, part of it's just getting used to the work, and like, I'm
Hmm.
used to the work. I know how that. But the truth is, that I wasn't. I mean,
Hmm.
I haven't done that kind of structure, but also just haven't done those kind of efforts in so long.
Right.
So it was true. Once you do a couple of them, you're like, all right, well, it hurts, but it doesn't hurt that bad. And then after a
Right.
while, the beautiful thing happens where it starts to hurt good.
Yeah,
Because in the
exactly.
beginning, everything hurts and none of it feels right. And then
Right.
eventually it starts to, you like that kind of stuff. But which
Yeah.
is a good question. So I feel like I have made tremendous progress in terms of power for a given heart rate output or
Right.
recovery or just feeling good on the bike.
Hmm.
Um, I assume you see those things. I mean, do you think I've made the if I
Yeah.
guess if 10 weeks ago you'd have said, okay, this is kind of the potential we have we
Hmm.
gotten there? Do you feel like we've made good progress?
Oh yeah, definitely. I think you put in a lot of work, which is great, and I think that's something to keep reminding yourself, especially as we get closer to the races. Everybody remind yourselves of the work you've been doing. But no, I think in 10 weeks, I mean, that's not long. That's not a long period of time to see big changes. And I think, we've seen your FTP grow significantly. And a lot of that is just getting back into the structure of training and getting your body used to going hard like that. And so, no, I think that's great. You're also naturally just a really high end rider. You do really well with the sprints, the short efforts, and so trying to find the good balance of keeping it fun and pushing that end of the spectrum, keeping that top end really high to allow that FTP to kind of move up more dramatically in that short period of time. So, I think, yeah, you've seen some big changes, but also I think we see it in your recovery. You're recovering day to day from the workouts better. You're recovering between the actual efforts a lot faster. We're seeing your heart rate come down way faster after efforts. And to me, that's the biggest. Like, I would love to see that over an FTP change. I want to see your recovery come down because that's a better indication to me that you're taking on board the work and getting what you need out of it. Um, and just hearing you talk about how it's feeling better. I think we underestimate our own feelings sometimes on the bike. And so, and we also, we're thinking about it as ourselves every single day. So each week when we're checking in and I hear you saying, a little bit better, I get to see that kind of change probably more than you even
Yeah.
recognize. So that
So
was another good one.
the boiling frog thing, you don't
Yeah,
realize it when you're in
exactly.
it. Yeah,
Exactly.
I do. You're right. I do like the short, violent things. Those
Hmm.
Batman. The first time you gave me a Batman workout, and I have to admit, I was going, "Why the hell do they call it Batman?" And finally, I looked at the little thing. I went, "Oh, it looks like a Batman."
Right.
I that hurt so bad the first time we did it. I love
Right.
those now. Give me 40 seconds of absolute pain, and then
Yep.
some pretty much pain, and then 40 more. I love that, and I do. I have to admit, I do try and drop an Easter egg on you here and there. Like I'll see if I can knock out 1,000 watts
Yeah.
or 800 watts and just see if you
Yeah.
notice that. So it's
Yeah,
probably good you
exactly.
don't feed my ego by mentioning that stuff very often.
No, it's fun
Um,
to see it.
yeah, it's fun to do. It's good to be able to do that and not feel like I
Mhm.
need to get off and lay down and throw up.
Yeah,
So it's
right.
been fun. And speaking of
Good.
FTP, that test was 6 weeks ago
Yeah,
already.
yeah,
I would feel like it's because I was both disappointed and happy with what we came up with when we
right.
decided it was roughly 215 watts,
Hmm.
which is disappointing because the last time I did that, it was only 15 or 18 years ago. It was a lot higher than that. I would have to think it's higher now,
For sure.
even just and I know you said better to have the good recovery than worry about FTPs, but I think
Hmm.
it's a little high. It's probably what 375, 425 now, something like
Yeah,
that.
I think, yeah, definitely somewhere in there.
Yeah,
Yeah, maybe
that's what I
just under 5. Yeah,
just under five. Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
It definitely feels better. So,
Yes, for
but
sure.
cool. Well, we have agreed on a plan. We've been talking a lot about, how's the race going to start? What do I need to be paying attention to? And we've kind of both decided that until the first checkpoint, till Alma, which is 70 miles, I'm not going to pay a whole lot of attention to wattage or heart rate. I'm going to go by feel and try and take advantage of. I think historically there should be a bit of a tailwind in the beginning, and there'll be groups. So that's our plan. Do you still feel good about that plan? And I still need to be paying attention. So what are the pitfalls that I should be watching for to know that I need to change that plan? We don't just want to show up in Alma completely blown up, even if I
Right.
got, 1 mile an hour average better. That's not a
Right.
good trade-off.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, I think one thing to mention is that you've done that in training now
Yep.
too. You've gone out and you've practiced riding without power, without heart rate in your face, um, to get used to that feeling. Because I think that's what we're shooting for, is really being able to kind of that perceived effort for that first section. Because the beginning of the race is so dynamic. There's groups, there's a whole lot going on. There's thousands of people around you. Staring at your computer is not the safe thing to be doing. So you have to rely on your feelings and what's going on around you. And hey, maybe there's a group up the road, just a little bit up the road, that has a real steady effort and you want to be in there. Knowing that it's okay to kind of push a little bit to get to that next group, or get a good wheel. I think it's important to know what that feels like to go that hard, but be able to kind of recover. And again, that's where like going to the Batmans, like those workouts are to help simulate that kind of situation. Um, so yeah, so I think that's the plan. Still, the biggest thing I'd say is with your power and your heart rate, if you are checking in on that, using it a bit more as a governor. So making sure you're not going too hard, right? We don't want to
Mhm.
get to Alma feeling overwhelmed. But I think you got to take advantage of that early speed. It's going to be cooler potentially. And so using the early miles to get through them as effortlessly as possible with some speed is kind of the way to think about it.
Yeah. So just go out there and blow it out.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Do you think, because I think that's going to be the easy part for me. Because again, historically, I haven't spent a lot of time. If the few times in the past I've had a power meter, I just used it as a play toy. Like how
Yeah.
high can I make the number go?
Yeah.
And then I don't do
Right.
anything else. But for folks that are, just kind of like the whole, um, what are the tips in general? I think people will over focus on a few details and not really see the things that matter. So we've talked about have the right attitude and the mental toughness. What are the other things people can pay attention to? Because, not all of us, we're not all Kristen. We're not going to try and win anything. We're just trying to get from one end to the other. What are the things that do matter in a given day for the typical recreational athlete, such as
Yeah.
myself?
Yeah. Well, we've talked a ton about this, right? Is nutrition and hydration. I think that's the biggest thing people make mistakes on, especially early in the race. I think it's easy to get caught up in the excitement, in the group dynamic, and trying to go fast and keep your average speed up. But if you're not eating and drinking from the beginning, I mean, the first pedal stroke off of the start line, you should be thinking, okay, am I eating and drinking right now? That because it's a long day out there. If you get behind, you're just going to have to spend time catching back up. So the more you can stay ahead of it, the better you're going to be later in the day. So I'd say that's the most important thing.
Mhm.
And then also this North course is extremely rugged. It really is. It's very different than the last few years going south. So I think that there is an element of, you have to be engaged, you have to be focused through a lot of these sections, because if you come over a hill and you find yourself on some like big chunky descents that you take the wrong line down, you're gonna be off your bike. So that's
Sometimes,
another reason.
sometimes
Yeah.
quickly off your bike.
Yeah, and unexpectedly and not comfortably. But so I think that, and again that goes back to, don't go out too hard where you can't see straight because you're just so cross-eyed from the effort, or don't get behind on your nutrition because you need that energy, that focus for this course. So I just say that's got to be number one for everybody over anything else.
Yeah, and I think it's hard too. These events are exciting. And
Mm-hmm.
so as you roll off, use the seating, I think, because they'll have the time groups,
Right.
your expected finish time. Use that and I think I want to be honest with myself, because
Mm-hmm.
if you put yourself in too fast a group and it's exciting and all of a sudden you're going really hard. And I ran the first time I ran a marathon
Mm-hmm.
20 some odd years ago, I did it on no training. I'd never run more than 8 miles before. And I was going to run 10-minute miles. And at the end of the first mile, I looked down. I thought, that's pretty close. I should be pretty close. 10 minutes. It was 6:20. Like,
Just a little off.
ah,
Yeah,
but don't
yeah,
do that, because before you
yeah,
know it, you're way off in the red, and you
yeah.
can recover. And that's another good point too. Is, and I'm glad you said that. People say, by the time you're thirsty, it's too late. Your day's done. That's not true at all.
Right.
It just means if you don't eat well and you don't hydrate well, you can recover, but you got to back way off.
Hmm.
And you said something to me the other day that I think is important, because you have seen in the data on my rides, I like to stop, and I will
Hmm.
lollygag at stops. You said, be moving. Just keep moving. I don't care if it's slow while you're still sorting things out
Right.
from a stop, but keep moving. And I think those two things, don't let the beginning excite you so that you put yourself in a bad spot you have to recover from, and then keep moving, because
Right.
we don't want to spend 30 minutes at the first water stop.
Yeah. I mean, if you spend 30 minutes at each of the stops, you're down 2 hours, right?
Yeah.
From all of that. So just keep that in mind. I think that's, yeah, another spot that can be, it's free speed, right? All you have to do is just get back on your bike a little bit faster and you're going to finish that much faster. So yeah, I think everybody can, yeah, keep that in mind as well.
Yeah. A little standing up and stretching is nice, though.
Yes, yeah. Take care of yourself. Don't put yourself in a bad way or forget to eat because you're not stopping or getting your food at the checkpoint when you need it, but get in and out as efficiently as possible with everything you need.
There you go. Be efficient.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you are the reigning XL champion from last year,
Yeah.
but you are not defending, right? You've taken a different path this year. What are you doing this year?
Yeah. Yeah. I'm sad to not be back in the 350, but I'm in the Grand Prix again, the Lifetime Grand Prix series, and the 200 is part of that series. So I'm opting to go back to the 200 this year and be part of that. So should be fun. Yeah, totally different experience out there in
I
terms of
bet.
racing, um, but great in its own way. So yeah, I'm really excited for a different experience this year.
So when you finish the 200, you're just going to do an extra 150
Right.
just to get the miles?
No, I tell everybody like the 200 is way harder than the 350 in my opinion. Like
Really?
going hard, go because it's just so much faster and more competitive, and you have to be around people and the dynamics of it versus the 350. You're like, I'm just going for a big bike adventure, and yeah, I'm just out there cruising. So I've
Just
yeah
eating convenience store food and napping in
yeah
ditches? Just
yeah exactly. There's
somebody
no
asked me that
napping in ditches on
question.
the 200.
In the 350, did you sleep any, or is that straight on?
I did it. Yeah, no sleep. For me, sleep, I don't get sleepy out there. You're just so amped up. You're on so much sugar and caffeine too from all the food you're eating that sleep was never. I think the sleepiest I got was on the second day, later in the afternoon when it's getting hot and you're just super tired and you haven't slept in, a long time. That's where I think the sleep element starts to hurt the most. But getting through the night it's one night, so it's not too bad.
I guess that helps having a 3 p.m. start, because
Yeah.
you get warmed up and it's dark, and then you're through the night and you don't have to deal
Yeah.
with that again.
Yeah, it's that system is the best way I've seen doing it because you're going into night fresh too, so you can go a little bit
Yeah.
faster. You're a little bit more, lucid through that rather than starting at 6 a.m. in the morning and yeah, having to hit it late in the day.
Yeah. Well, the other thing you've been doing with some fellow named Nick is the Unbound Gravel podcast.
Yeah,
I have very much enjoyed the podcast. Are you guys having
great.
fun with that? Is the plan to keep that going?
Yeah, it is. We're definitely just dipping our toes in this season. Got a few good some interviews in. Got to talk through the course preview a little bit with the new race director. So, and thank you very much for your help with all of the mic and support. Our later episodes are sounding much better thanks to Mark and his
You're
his
quite
help with
welcome.
this. But yeah, we're definitely planning on ramping things up. I think after Unbound, Nick's going out and doing a version of Tour Divide here this summer, and then once we're back from that, I think we'll get things rolling a little bit more consistently and get that going for 2025.
Well, they're very enjoyable episodes, and
Yeah,
I have them. I've subscribed. Everybody should subscribe.
yeah,
Find it where you get your favorite podcast. And if you like gravel cycling and just entertaining
yeah,
interactions in general, I think everybody should like it.
yeah,
All right. Well, this is it. I sure hope to
yeah,
make you proud. I guess you're already in Emporia. I'll be there
yep,
Wednesdays. Hopefully we get to say hello.
yeah.
You will, I'm going to guess it's going to be close, but I think you're going to be finished Saturday, just a little bit before me in the race.
I mean, we could see each other out there. I do get a head start, so at least I've got that, right? So,
Yeah, by a little bit, I mean hours and hours and
no,
hours that you'll be
you're gonna
done.
be
And
great. No,
well,
I
I am
think,
excited, and I tell
yeah,
you, a lot of things are left to happen. There's an awful lot of chance involved.
yeah,
There's all sorts of things in the day, but at the very least, relative to last year, I feel way, 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 way physically prepared,
good.
and it's 100%. Well, I mean, I did some work, but it's 100%
Yeah,
owed to you helping me. I did not. I would not have been here, and I very much appreciate the work. And I will tell anybody that is listening, because this is again the first cycling coach I've ever worked with. The investment, the dollars, 100%. Of all the money I'll spend to get to Unbound, the investment in coaching with you is by far the most useful and the best money that you can possibly invest in yourself. So, yeah, do it.
thanks. Well, nice. Well, and again, like you've done the work, so I think that's something to remind yourself. You've already made me proud as a coach. Just
Oh,
jumping in and sorry to get super cheesy, but yeah, this Saturday should just be about going out there and seeing what you can do yourself. There's no pressure, there's no expectations, and as you say, some good luck and some good legs, and you'll have a great day.
yeah. Just think of me after about 4 or 5 hours after you're done and you're having a hamburger and having a good
Yeah.
time, and think, I wonder if he's done yet.
Yeah, yeah. No, I'll be there at the finish line. No worries. So, I'll see you there.
All right. Okay. Well,
Yeah,
we'll talk to you soon.
sounds good. Thanks, Mark.
You're welcome. Thank you.